Good evening. Our top story tonight, Malik Nabers and Jayden Daniels had their pro day today at LSU with nine members of the New England Patriots there in attendance. We also had many head coaches, many general managers, and Malik Nabers absolutely popped the hell off. We've also got some news around the NFL talking Dak Prescott. Could he be away from the Dallas Cowboys in 2025? We've got some rule changes as well coming out of the NFL owners meeting and so much more on Player Profiler today. And so we are back, and the New England Patriots, like I said, sent 9 members of their staff down to Louisiana to go and check out either Jayden Daniels or Malik Nabers. There were other people in attendance, Brian Thomas notably, and a whole host of other players, but not fantasy relevant players, so I'm not going to get into that. But it wasn't just the Patriots. It was also the head coaches. Well, Gerard Mayo, he was there, as was the general manager, Elliott Wolf. He's not the official general manager, but he is the general manager of the Patriots. So they were there. Gerard Mayo, Brian Dable from the New York Giants, Antonio Pierce from the Las Vegas Raiders, Matt Eberflus from the Chicago Bears. He's keeping up appearances. We do appreciate that. And he's probably hoping to get a closer look at Malik Nabers, hoping he slides to number 9. But then we've got Dennis Allen and Dan Quinn. Dennis Allen from the New Orleans Saints. Dan Quinn, new head coach of the Washington Commanders. So that's 6 head coaches in attendance. Joining Dan Quinn with the Washington Commanders was Adam Peters, the general manager. We had Joe Hortiz, the general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers. He's picking at 5 unless he trades back. So Malik Nabers is firmly on the radar for the Chargers. Then we've got Rand Carthen, the Tennessee Titans general manager. They're picking there at 7, and we very well could see Malik Nabers go there, though probably not, now that they have Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Treylon Burks in the slot, but maybe they trade Treylon Burks. Anyways, they also had Ryan Poles, general manager of the Chicago Bears, keeping up appearances as well and checking out Malik Nabers. And what a show from Malik Nabers. 6 foot, 199 pounds. So he is just the regular modern day wide receiver size. That's Jamar Chase. That's Justin Jefferson. That's Garrett Wilson. That's Chris Olave. Just 6 foot, 200 pounds. That is the modern NFL wide receiver. And then he goes out and becomes the most explosive wide receiver in the draft. 42-inch vertical from Malik Nabers. A 10'9" broad jump. Just chef's kiss. Malik Nabers absolutely knocked it out of the park when it came to the explosiveness, and he wasn't done there. 4.35 unofficial. Now, of course, for Player Profiler, that will equate to a 4.40, but 4.40 from Malik Nabers, that is just beautiful. Absolutely love it. Let's call it a 4.35 because it's more fun to say. Malik Nabers with that 4.3 speed. And at this point, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but Malik Nabers very well could be the wide receiver 1 of the 2024 NFL draft. We've heard it time after time after time. First, it was introduced to us by, well, let's be honest. First, it was introduced to us by people just trying to be contrarian. It was just, are we sure that Marvin Harrison Jr. is the wide receiver 1? Ha, ha, ha. What about all these other guys? Ha, ha, ha. But then we had people actually dive into the film. Cody Carpentier became one of the first people out there to say, you know what? Kind of depends on what you're looking for, because Marvin Harrison Jr., big outside X receiver. Malik Nabers, he's playing there in the slot. He is able to separate at all the positions on the football field at wide receiver. He can do it also. It really depends on what you're looking for. 1A, 1B. And then we heard it after Cody Carpentier came out and said it. Then Daniel Jeremiah starts telling us, yeah, that's actually how the NFL views it too. The NFL says it is wide receiver 1A, 1B with Malik Nabers and with Marvin Harrison Jr. It is absolutely an exciting time in the NFL this draft class. And I know there will be plenty of busts, but the way it's looking right now with those top 4 quarterbacks, with Malik Nabers and Marvin Harrison Jr. as the top 2 wide receivers, and then we've got Romo Duns at wide receiver 3. Oh, it's an exciting time. But Malik Nabers, he had dinner with the New York Giants last night. The Giants in the market for a quarterback, but it doesn't sound like they're going to trade up for one. And since they're not trading up, they're not going to get one. And so Malik Nabers very well could just fall right into their lap at 6th overall. Also met with the New England Patriots, who would be a candidate to draft Nabers if they trade back. The Tennessee Titans, who we mentioned, were in attendance. The Jets had a meeting with Malik Nabers as well. What a great fit that would be. Jets probably have to trade up from number 10 to make that happen. And the Jaguars, who absolutely have to trade up if they want Malik Nabers. But we've heard the Jaguars could be in the market for a trade up at wide receiver. So LSU Pro Day, phenomenal day from Malik Nabers. We've got more on the LSU Pro Day with Jayden Daniels, as well as updates on Caleb Williams. Joe Milton had his pro day as well, looking phenomenal. Even though he's not a real NFL quarterback, he is a hell of an athlete. And then some rules updates and an update on Dak Prescott and his contract right after a word from the Podfather.
This episode is brought to you by Player Profiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help to strategize where you should take players because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our rookie guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. I mean, it's a great deal. Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator app. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from Player Profiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side, prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
And we are back. And of course, Malik Nabers dominated today, but it wasn't just him. Jayden Daniels had his pro day as well. So did Brian Thomas Jr. Jayden Daniels comes in 210 pounds. People were a little bit worried that he might be short and skinny. Jayden Daniels comes in with prototypical quarterback size. Now, he's not a monster. He's not an alien like the Josh Allens of the world, but Lamar Jackson came in around the same size. Lamar Jackson has also put on weight to better sustain those injuries. Jayden Daniels absolutely has the frame where he can put on more weight as well. So 210 pounds for Jayden Daniels, just perfect, absolutely perfect. We mentioned that Antonio Pierce and the Las Vegas Raiders were in attendance. This comes as no surprise. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if the Raiders weren't interested in a quarterback, which they are. They absolutely are. They're interested and in need of a quarterback. But even if they weren't, Antonio Pierce probably would have been at the LSU Pro Day anyways because he loves Jayden Daniels. They are like this. They are close. Antonio Pierce recruited him to Arizona State, played there together before Antonio Pierce was let go from Arizona State because of recruiting violations. But anyways, still very close. This would have happened either way. And now we hear reports that the Raiders are looking at a mobile quarterback, that they want a runner as a QB. Sounds a lot like Jayden Daniels, the Raiders. I don't think it's going to happen because I do believe the Commanders take Jayden Daniels at 2. I think the Commanders trading back. I think that's just a smokescreen. But the Raiders, if anything happens, if the opportunity arises, could they be a dark horse to trade up and draft Jayden Daniels? Antonio Pierce, former protege, very well could be the case. But it wasn't just that pro day today. Joe Milton had his pro day today for the Tennessee Volunteers as well. 4.55, 4.55 speed at 245 pounds. Whew! Insane. Absolutely insane from Joe Milton. Obviously, he's not a real NFL quarterback, but hell of an athlete. Absolute hell of an athlete, Joe Milton is. But going back to the higher end of quarterbacks in the NFL draft, controversy has struck again for Caleb Williams. He was caught. Oh my goodness, Caleb Williams was caught with a pink phone? Wow. At a basketball game for the USC Trojans with a pink phone. Now, no one actually knows if this is his phone. And oh, well, he's got the pink phone and his lips are looking a little red. He must be wearing lipstick. And maybe maybe it was the camera image, maybe it was the food he ate, maybe he was kissing his girlfriend, or maybe he wears lipstick. And who cares if Caleb Williams is wearing lipstick, painting his nails, has a pink phone? None of this matters. Everyone remembers Ricky Williams wearing a wedding dress. Have you heard of Dennis Rodman? People are who they are, and people are freaking out because Caleb Williams is who he is, even though it's a 2-second video of him at a basketball game. But people are losing their minds, and I cannot wait to see Caleb Williams enter the NFL and silence all the haters. It's very much Eric Eager, formerly of Pro Football Focus, currently with Summer Sports. He put it best when he said that Caleb Williams has officially replaced Taylor Swift as the person who is hated by all the right people. So just correlation. If they don't like Taylor Swift and they don't like Caleb Williams, that is a pretty big red flag. But moving on from that, we've got the NFL owners meeting. We've got some new rules. Dua Lipa, count them, new rules. I got them. But trade deadline is officially moving back 1 week. So instead of being after week 8, the trade deadline is now after week 9. Love to see that. Love to see the idea that more teams could be eliminated or close to eliminated at that point, and maybe sellers at the deadline. And this is a bad way to run a franchise. Don't get me wrong. But how many times have we seen franchises, oh, well, we're still in the playoff hunt, even though we suck and there's no hope, but we're still in that playoff hunt. We can't sell at the deadline. We simply can't sell at the deadline. Because we could luck our way into the playoffs. Another week of that removed, where another bad team gets another loss and is more likely to sell. That is good for the NFL. That is good for the product. And that is good for us as fans. So love to see the trade deadline moving back. Love to see the new in-season Hard Knocks expanding to 4 teams. It's going to be an entire division instead of just being the Arizona Cardinals. And honestly, I don't remember who else has done the in-season Hard Knocks other than the Arizona Cardinals. But that is now going to be 4 different teams. We're going to select an entire division. There's going to be no competitive advantage from team to team within the division. We're all going to see the same things. Excited about that. Also excited about the new kickoff, XFL style. So the kicker is going to be where they usually are, but the coverage team is going to be up way closer than it was previously, and you're not allowed to move until the returner catches the ball. So there will no longer be those full sprint collisions that happen so often on kickoff. There will instead be a little bit more creativity from the kick returner. There will be a little bit more room to operate and a little bit more strategy here with the kickoffs changing. And we've already seen NFL teams respond to this. The Pittsburgh Steelers signed Cordarrelle Patterson to a 2-year, $6 million contract. And Cordell Patterson. It's a new kickoff, but he is the best kick returner in the history of the NFL. And I know some of you out there are instantly saying, but what about Devin Hester? Well, no. Devin Hester is the greatest punt returner of all time. Objectively, no one can argue with that. But Cordell Patterson, 9 kick return touchdowns. That is the NFL record. I actually don't remember how many kick return touchdowns Devin Hester has, but he's not even second on the list. Second, I believe, is Leon Washington, formerly of the New York Jets and Seattle Seahawks. Cordell Patterson stands alone at the top as the best kick returner in NFL history with 9 touchdowns on kick return. Devin Hester, best punt returner of all time objectively, but you remember that Super Bowl kick return where he returned it against the Indianapolis Colts? That wasn't the norm. Still a great kick returner, but not the best ever like Cordell Patterson is. So the Steelers signed him to be that guy. And the Browns had a little bit of foresight as well. The Cleveland Browns knew that this rule was changing. And so they signed Nyheim Hines. So Nyheim Hines joins the backfield with Jerome Ford, with Nick Chubb, and with Dante Foreman. So they've got 4 running backs there when you include Nyheim Hines. Going to be tough for a player coming off an ACL tear to make the roster, except he is now the kick returner, and Nyheim Hines is one of the better returners in the NFL as well. By the way, he's going to be wearing number 22 for the Cleveland Browns, New Jersey number for Nyheim Hines. New kick return, new kick off rules in the NFL. Now, of course, everyone is up in arms because of the changes to the hip drop tackle. And I voiced my opinion on Monday. I think the idea and the intent behind it is good to protect players, to protect offensive players who bring in the money for the NFL and we love as fans. And I think there has been historical precedent set that you can ban the hip drop tackle. We saw it in rugby. I just don't trust the NFL referees because they are not full-time, and it is just so lackadaisical when it comes to NFL referees. So I don't think it's going to be a success, but I do admire the attempt. Finally, coming out of the NFL owners meeting, we got an update on injured reserve. Now you can place 2 players on IR before cutdown day. So previously, if before the roster cut down from 90 players to 53, if you were placed on injured reserve before that cut down, then you were just done for the season. There was no playing. It was over. Now, 2 players can be placed on injured reserve during the offseason, during training camp, and still return. That was another rule introduced by the Detroit Lions. And we got updates on the schedule. So the Hall of Fame game, we're going to get the Texans versus the Bears. Of course, the Chicago Bears have Julius Peppers entering the Hall of Fame. They also have Devin Hester entering the Hall of Fame. So we all knew it was going to be 2 Chicago Bears. They will play the Houston Texans to kick off the preseason. Speaking of the Houston Texans, Danielle Hunter, it turns out, turned down more money from the Indianapolis Colts to sign with the Houston Texans. Now, I do believe he is from Texas. He went to LSU, but I believe he is a Texas guy. And so returns home, if I'm correct, for less money than he would have made with the Indianapolis Colts. But other than that, we got a bunch of schedule updates as well. We will see NFL football on 6 of the 7 days of the week in 2024. Of course, we've got Monday Night Football. Everyone knows about that. We've got Sunday Night Football. Everyone knows about that. And we've got Thursday Night Football. Everyone knows about that. But Wednesday is Christmas this year, and we will get 2 games on Christmas. We also get the... What am I looking at here? Oh, no, that's Thursday Night Football. Jeez Louise. Okay, so we get 2 games on Christmas. Oh, sorry. My mistake. I'm looking at the Christmas schedule. So we get 2 games on Christmas. That's going to kick off the week. Then we get Thursday Night Football on Thursday. Then it's Friday. No football on Friday, unfortunately, over the holidays. But then we get Saturday Night Football, which they always like to do at the end of the season after college football is done. Then we get Sunday football on December 29th. Then on Monday, December 30th, and Tuesday, December 31st, we get the college football quarterfinals. It is just going to be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful week. So much football, so much quality football too. Teams playing for playoffs. teams playing for the college football championship. I cannot wait. So that's going to be Wednesday as well as Christmas. Thursday, we get Thursday night football. Friday, we're at least going to get the Eagles versus Eagles versus question mark in Brazil for week 1. So it's going to be the Brazil game for the Philadelphia Eagles exclusively on Peacock, which I don't love. I don't love the, hey, you got to pay money to watch this single football game. Don't love it. Just don't love it. As a Canadian, it's fine for me because I just have DAZN and I can just watch that, but not really fair to all of my American friends out there. And so I don't love it. Hope the NFL stops heading in this direction, but unfortunately the money is good. And so I doubt that happens. We're also going to have Saturday football throughout the season as well. And in the playoffs, we're going to have an Amazon exclusive game. But speaking of networks, ESPN is aggressively pursuing Jason Kelce, trying to get him on the Monday Night Football squad, whether it's the Manning cast, whether it's the Monday Night Football team with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, whatever it is, ESPN aggressively trying to sign Jason Kelce now that he is retired. But Saquon Barkley is trying to lure Jason Kelce out of retirement as well. He was on the New Heights podcast with Travis and Jason Kelce very recently. And Saquon said, you don't have to retire. You can come back and block for me. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be beautiful? Sticking within the NFC East, though, we've got Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott is on an expiring contract, and they are not close to a deal. Now, there is a mutual understanding between Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. There's no urgency on either side. This is just what we're being told in the media, and we have no reason to disbelieve this. But also, there's no offer on the table. The Cowboys, according to Jerry Jones, are locked and loaded for this year. Now, they're still going to continue to negotiate a contract, but they're not close. And Dak Prescott honestly has all of the leverage. And you might think, well, he did lose in the playoffs for the Dallas Cowboys. Well, what has Dak Prescott ever done? No. Dak Prescott has all of the leverage, first and foremost, because he has a cap hit of over $60 million this year. He did renegotiate some of it or restructure some of it, but that only saved, I think, $4 or $5 million. So what? We're still at $55 million plus for Dak Prescott on the cap this year. That is the second highest cap hit in NFL history behind only Deshaun Watson. So now, Dak Prescott this year, if the Cowboys want to do anything financially, sign players, whatever, it kind of has to go through Dak. But it's not just this year, because even if Dak Prescott leaves the Dallas Cowboys next year, the Cowboys have done so much finagling with his contract that if Dak Prescott leaves the Dallas Cowboys in 2025, they're on the hook for $95 million, because the Cowboys have just kept kicking that salary cap that can down the road, saying, well, we've got a quarterback locked up for long term, restructure this, free up money for this player, free up money for this player. It's what we're seeing from the Kansas City Chiefs. When Patrick Mahomes retires, the Chiefs are going to be in for a rough couple of years because they've kicked this can down the road so many times. But the only way to alleviate that $95 million cap hit is for Dak Prescott to sign a new contract with the Dallas Cowboys and spread it out over the length of that contract. So Dak Prescott holds all of the power with the Dallas Cowboys. He will become the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, whether it's through the leverage he has with the Dallas Cowboys or he hits free agency in 2025. And how often do you see quarterbacks of Dak Prescott's caliber entering free agency? Kirk Cousins just got $180 million over 4 years coming off an Achilles tear, because quarterbacks of Kirk Cousins, even after an Achilles tear, never hit free agency. So Dak Prescott will become the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, whether it's for the Cowboys, whether it's for the New York Giants, who will be interested in the quarterback next year, the Raiders, going to be interested in the quarterback next year unless they do trade up for Jayden Daniels, the Broncos and Seahawks on that list as well, the Minnesota Vikings, if they don't end up trading up for J.J. McCarthy / Drake May, they could be interested. What about the Patriots? If they trade back from 3, they'll be in on Dak Prescott. The Steelers, if it doesn't work out with Russ or Justin Fields, they could be in on Dak. The Tennessee Titans, if Will Levis face plants, which I don't expect to happen, Dak Prescott is going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, going to be the highest paid player in the history of the NFL. I'm just telling you the future headline. Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, though, they are interested in a reunion with Ezekiel Elliott, as well as signing Dalvin Cook. Those are two running backs currently in communication with the Dallas Cowboys. As of now, it is Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn as the top two for the Dallas Cowboys. Rounding things out when it comes to the news, Jamar Chase has not signed a contract, and the main reason is because he's waiting for Justin Jefferson to sign his contract. Justin Jefferson is another year long with the Minnesota Vikings. He is more likely to be paid this offseason because we just saw Justin Jefferson didn't sign a new contract in year 3, which Jamar Chase is in year 3. And Justin Jefferson is going to set the market. And so Jamar Chase can just come in and say, yeah, okay, well, he's making this. I'm making more than this. Bingo, bango, bongo. Let's do it. Let's sign the deal. Also in the wide receiver world, we've got Josh Reynolds signing a 2-year, up to $14 million contract with the Denver Broncos. I imagine he's making in the $4.5 to $6 million per year range. So he's probably making in the Jamal Agnew, Khalif Raymond range of contracts with up to $7 million per year. That puts him in the Robert Woods range of contracts. So makes sense for a player of Josh Reynolds' caliber. Would have liked to see him return to the Detroit Lions, but the Lions obviously had a number attached to what they were willing to pay Josh Reynolds to be their wide receiver 3. Jameson Williams going to be the wide receiver 2 now. And Josh Reynolds wanted more. And who can blame him? He deserves every penny he is going to make. But now it is Josh Reynolds alongside Cortland Sutton and Marvin Mims in those 3 wide receiver sets. Tim Patrick coming off the Achilles tear, I believe, either Achilles or ACL. He did one first, then the other. I can't remember. Either way, Tim Patrick coming off of injury. Little Jordan Humphrey, Brandon Johnson, and Philip Dorsett rounding out the bunch. Mentioned the Lions. They re-signed Nate Sudfeld to be QB3 behind Hendon Hooker. At least I hope he's QB3 behind Hendon Hooker. If Hendon Hooker loses the job to Nate Sudfeld, that is a red flag on his development, and I'm a believer in Hendon Hooker. At the running back position, we see J.K. Dobbins cleared for football activities. Check that off. J.K. Dobbins is back. J.K. Dobbins going to start taking visits with teams. They're going to give him a physical. They're going to see how that Achilles has repaired. Excited for J.K. Dobbins wherever he signs. If he is healthy, 5.8 yards per attempt for his career. J.K. Dobbins, when healthy, could be something special. Of course, he's coming off an Achilles, but I'm optimistic. You know me by now. I am always optimistic. Rounding out the running back position, Tank Bigsby catching hype from Doug Peterson once again. We've heard like 5 times now that Tank Bigsby is going to be in the rotation. They want to take the stress off of Travis Etienne, get Tank Bigsby more involved. And Damian Harris has entered retirement, former Patriots running back who was really good with the New England Patriots, really efficient, a tackle breaker, a yards after contact guy, and a pretty elusive guy. Just didn't get the full touches when he was with the Patriots early in his career, because I don't even remember who it was early in his career at this point. It wasn't LeGarrette Blount, was it? Cordell Patterson was there for a spell. I don't even remember who was in front of Dame. Oh, Sony Michel. It was definitely Sony Michel. So that was why it was early. And then Ramondre Stevenson comes in, but he was still so efficient. Then he signs with the Bills, suffers a season-ending neck injury, season-ending concussion. And I wish Damian Harris all the best in his retirement. We might not see Ryan Ramczyk play in the NFL in 2024 either. His knee surgery earlier in this offseason, the healing hasn't gone as well as they had hoped. And so you can pretty much write in pen at this point, maybe even permanent marker, that the Saints are going to be drafting an offensive tackle with their first round pick. Finally, sticking in the NFC South, the Carolina Panthers, they have reached out. They've picked up the phone and called Stephon Gilmore, but they did manage to sign Jadeveon Clowney, the former first overall pick with the Houston Texans, signs a 2-year, $20 million contract worth up to $24 million. So Jadeveon Clowney cashes in after settling for a 1 year, $2.5 million contract in 2023 with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, he earned far more than that. I think he made about $6 million, $7 million with incentives, but it was a 1 year, $25 million base salary. Now it's 2 years, $20 million for his base salary, can earn an additional $4 million. Good for Jadeveon Clowney cashing in. Love to see that. He returns to Carolina, and this is just something that means a lot to players, being able to play for their hometown team. Oftentimes they have a home there, and so you don't have to buy a new house. You don't have to move. It's a lot easier. And people might think, okay, well, maybe that's why he turned down the Jets and the Ravens. The Jets and Ravens had contract offers for Jadeveon Clowney. They wanted to bring him in or bring him back with the Baltimore Ravens. Jets wanted to bring him in, and instead he turns it down. The Jets wanted a 1 year deal worth about $10 million, whereas the Panthers, they were offering a $2 million deal. And sometimes you're just worth more.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.